bringing this to synastry, which is we're trying to figure out how this stuff interacts. I mean, there's big fifth house energy in all of y'all's charts, and so that's something that no app
big
will ever
hormones.
Yeah, we did it. We did it.
Get it out.
So you guys all have fifth house energy. Emeka.
So does that mean we should just have giant orgies? Like
Yes.
Absolutely have giant orgies.
That's what we do when we meet up.
No, I'm aware that I want to abuse you in some way.
I'm aware that I want to take it. So.
The big hormone enneagram.
Hi, I'm John Lukovich, sexual self-pres 4-5 wing, 4-5-8 trifix.
Hi, I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual 9-1, 9-7-4 trifix.
What up? It's Emeka. I'm an 8-7, sexual self-pres with 8-5-4 fixes.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I am a self-pres social 3, wing 4, with a 3-6-9 trifix. If you like our podcast, guys, make sure you go like and subscribe us on the Apple Podcast app. And if you really like us, you should definitely leave us a review.
Welcome back to the Big Hormone Enneagram Show. Today we have my best friend or former best friend, Odinaka Ezeokoli, astrologist and comedian, here today to talk about compatibility, chemistry in astrological terms. And so welcome, OD.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing? Glad to be here.
You want to tell them about like where they can find any of your offerings and services?
Yeah. Just hit up my website. You can hit me on Instagram because my Instagram has the fucking link in the bio. At Odinaka, Odinaka, at Odinaka. Let me say the way my people say it. Odinaka, or Odinaka, Odinaka. My website is odinakaezeokoli.com /astrologer, and I tell my story and you see my offerings. www.odinakaezeokoli.com /astrologer. Check the IG page. It has the link in there at Odinaka.
I want to add though that I did a session with Odie, and it was incredible. Like I have a certain I had, let's say, a certain cynicism about astrology, and it was like an amazing reading. It was really useful and helpful. So I really recommend anybody that's on the fence about astrology or just wants the reading to check out OD.
Yeah.
Same here.
Second
Absolutely.
thought.
Yeah.
And even as his best friend, I've come a long way in terms of, I've always been skeptical of the whole thing. I didn't really take it seriously until OD started really getting deep into it. And
even then, you still shat on it.
I still, I shit on everything.
Yeah, I was going to say shits on everything.
But it's been really actually useful in just being able to actually use astrology and look at people's charts and see that, this is some real shit that's happening. And especially when it comes to chemistry, that's been really eye-opening to see some of the, sometimes you're just wondering, like, why the fuck do I have this strong chemistry with this person? Like, what's going on? And so astrology does have some answers, and hopefully in this call, we uncover some of that.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're with somebody and it's like, yo, why does this motherfucker bother me? What is up with that? And synastry can talk to that. So that can also point to like why we butt heads with certain people as well. I'm really curious about people's Mars stories. I'm really curious if anybody has hooked up with somebody who has the same element or same sign Mars, and it was a bad experience, because I'm looking for outliers just to see. I'm just, if anybody, like, I don't know, maybe you can post it in the Enneagrammer group or like DM me on Instagram. I'm curious about that. Or if you had great experiences, I'm curious about that too. I'm looking for I'm just trying to refine my idea of how Mars works in the real world. Because I currently believe when you got Mars in the same element, when it comes to physical attraction, sexuality, sexual preferences, you guys might speak the same language. And if it's the same sign, the same element, you're really flowing. And if it's not, you might have to work a little bit more to get on the same page.
So if you've had great or bad sex with someone who has the same Mars sign, you need to hit up OD today.
And he wants to hear detail.
If you've ever had sex, just hit up OD and
just send him the story, with a video preferably.
Yes, definitely video submissions. I'll be taking those on Instagram.
For free.
Looking for Mars sex tape. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and you know what? He'll do some chart shit. Send him that video, and he'll read your chart. Great.
I'm like, oh, you're doing this angle because you're rising sign. Why don't you try
yeah.
this? Yeah.
And why don't
Coming
you
from
film
behind.
that too?
Yeah, that astrology will catch on immediately if you're giving pointers.
Sex
Yeah, really.
tapes. Astrology sex tapes.
Oh my god.
So we're doing how to pick up chicks in bars with astrology. Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
how to guess their sign so that they're like, oh my god, you know me.
Well, I had a conversation with OD a couple weeks ago where he had said that he was wondering if there was a thing with the Mars placement around people who you were sexually compatible with. If you had the same sign in your Mars position or aspect with someone, if that suggested that you guys had like sexual chemistry. And so he wanted me to look at the charts of all my exes to see if that was the case. And I did have one ex who was a Virgo Mars and Venus Mars, and it was really good. And so he just kept asking me if it was like the same sign or like the same element, that there would be some sexual chemistry. And so I want to have a conversation about like all the different, his viewpoint of astrological compatibility, because there's a couple of them that he's sort of thrown my way that he sort of uses. Anytime I show him an X, he'll like point out like a couple things. So I want to do a call, to talk about all that kind of shit.
What Rebecca's talking about with just Mars stuff, this is like really basic synastry. It's like, yo, are you guys water Marses? Are you Earth Marses? Are you are you air Marses? Technically, it's gonna be some more flow. If you're both the same sign, like y'all might really hit it off just on some like animal attraction shit. Not like and I'm assuming like you already know, like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we could look at, but this question, I was really just thinking about sex. I mean, I was really like isolating, like, yo, if I had 2 seconds to look at your chart and I want to think if the sex was good, or if there would, let me not say sex was good, I don't want to say that, but like maybe you guys could really easily, like, you guys speak the same language in terms of physical attraction. How about that? I have this idea that Mars in the same element and Mars or the same exact sign would really have a nice flow. I don't know if it would be a long-term thing, but it's just like an idea that I had based on like looking at my past partners, and then as I said, like, oh, let me see yours, and I was like asking like anybody who like, hey, tell me about who's open to telling me about like people you've hooked up with. And I guess if I'm looking for like, well, if this is not true, I'm looking for like, were you with somebody who like, are you both Earth Marses and it was just like terrible, like, or or if you guys are both like. Because then I was like, oh, okay, well then maybe this doesn't work, or maybe this. But from the little small sample size I've asked, people who had the Mars in the same element, it seemed to be really flowy.
You said a term that people don't know, probably don't know what it means. You said synastry. So is that the field of?
Oh yeah, synastry is just relationship chemistry in astrology,
like overlapping
okay.
charts.
Yeah, overlapping charts, and there's a whole bunch of different ways you could do it. Like, I mean, the basics.
So it's a whole thing.
Yeah, so it's a whole thing, and there's so many different ways of synastry. So I would just like, I mean, there's so many. You can spin that thing around and look at so much different shit. I was just thinking about. I just was curious about Mars, and sex. Yeah.
I've got a question. So
Okay.
I get why you're focusing on Mars, but also sort of traditionally in the romance space, I would assume some astrologers look at Venus compatibility.
Oh.
Can you talk about the why you're doing Mars as opposed to Venus, or can you include including Venus and whatever?
Oh yeah, well, I'm really dumbing this down. Like, not dumbing down. I'm really being like super laser focused. I was just thinking about sex. I would just what?
Right.
To be honest, one day I saw somebody tweet about like, oh, you know what? If somebody says sex is trash, maybe your Mars is off. And I was like, man, I wonder if some of my like worst hookups was like a Mars mishap. And so then I like spent all night looking up everybody I've ever been with, all my partners, finding birthdays, looking up, and I was like, oh wow, some of my most flowing sexual experiences where it just seemed like it just happened, and we just like it was effortless, like we were just like on the same page, like whatever. I'm a Mars and Scorpio. They were all water Marses. And like I've had people who I've been with, and they're like literally told other friends, like, yo, that nigga trash, like don't fuck that dude, whatever. And so, and I was like, oh, you know what? There's Mars and Capricorn, Mars and Scorpio, which is not a mismatch. They sextile, but it just wasn't like this like effortless flowy thing. And so I noticed this pattern in myself. And so then I was like, oh, let me ask Omeka, let me ask other people. So this is just like a pattern I noticed. I was just isolating sex. This is not like about relationship compatibility. This is not like the entire thing. I just happened to have a conversation about sex. This is not like the bone marrow of relationship astrology. Venus definitely has a lot to say. And I feel like if you have because also like my partner now, me and my partner, our Mars is square. Like she's a Mars in Leo, I'm a Mars in Scorpio. She's got a fire Mars, I have a water Mars, and they're 90 degrees away from each other, square. So it's technically a tense relationship. So you could say like, oh, there's no chemistry here. But then we have like that. You could say there's like this raw sexual thing here, but it's like, but also squares hold things together. Like, so over time, if you have enough other things in your chart that point to easiness, flowiness, you can actually work it out. Like our Mercuries are compatible, our Venuses, like all these other things. So if you really want to go in, you definitely need to look at more than Mars. I was really, really isolating this one thing for this one idea that I had. And I didn't know that I'd be talking about it, defending it like it's a thesis. But yeah, this is what I was thinking about. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Devin?
Well, to the degree that Venus, I mean, you might have a different or I don't know, have some different ideas about what Venus is, but to me, Venus is partly about attraction, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And Venus, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that could be it. That's another thing. Like if your Venuses are aspecting in some way, if they're like, it's the same kind of thing. Like if your Venuses are in the same element, that attraction, the things that you like, your sense of taste, all that's going to be flowy too. I mean, this idea of being in the same element is going to lend itself to a kind of natural chemistry. And so, of course, if you have compatible Venuses and compatible Mars, I mean, game over. That's like super, super hell fucking yes. Absolutely.
I had a relationship that was dysfunctional for other reasons, but the thing that was really compelling about it was that I really did wish that it worked, because there were some really cool things in terms of our dynamic, in terms of just being comfortable with each other. She was a social suppress 3, and checked out her chart, and I have Virgo in Venus and Mars, and she has Virgo in Venus and Mars, and she's a Virgo, and so it was kind of interesting to see. And the other thing that popped up in the charts of my exes is that I have a lot of exes who have the same sign in both their Venus and Mars. And OD, you had something to say about that, about like someone who has the same sign in Venus and Mars.
Yes, because I remember that relationship in particular. Like you guys, that's why because you guys weren't in particular compatible. You guys didn't actually, like, overall, y'all weren't really fucking with each other, and y'all didn't really want the same things. But in terms of this kind of like flowing kind of attraction, like sex, it just seemed like it was very like it seemed like the sex was really easy for y'all.
Yeah.
From what you were describing, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, because with this idea in my head, if you guys have the same, if the elements of your Mars and are the same, then it's going to be flowy. And then you had Venus, of course, even more so.
That was the only thing that was good about it, is the attraction was there and the sex was there, but like everything else was like,
But I mean, if I was doing if we were doing a reading for somebody, like you were actually like trying to figure out like, well, how does this relationship work? You're thinking about more than sex. And so
yeah. I mean, not me. Yeah.
Like if you wanted to get like, I mean, one thing that a lot of
Sure.
Because I mean, I'm better than that.
What else is
Sure.
But I mean, a lot of astrologers don't look at the nodes, but the nodes are really fascinating in terms of like this overall thing. Like, you have the node, the north node, the south node. We're on an elliptic, the moon's on an elliptic, the sun's, we're all like running around the sun, and the points where those where those elliptics intersect are the nodes, the north and south node of the moon in particular. And that can really say something. The nodes say something about like your karmic purpose, like what you're here to do over the course of many lifetimes, or like what would feel fulfilling for you now, and also what your past life felt like, the emotional resonance of your past life, the shit that you went through. And so when you put the north node, what you're here to do, and along with someone else's north node, you can really laser in on what this person is here to teach you. And so, like, Nancy, we can look at your partner's north node and where it falls in your house, and that's going to say something about what this person is here to teach you. Conversely, we can look at your partner's south node and where it falls in your house, and it can tell us what they're not here to teach you, and where you guys might bump heads, and where he might be like, you're talking about this area of life, I don't really give a fuck about it. And it's like, and it might not even be conscious. It might not even be like he's like overtly trying to dunk on you. He's just like on the south node. It's like I've just been there, done that. I'm not trying to do that anymore in this life. I've done that so many fucking times. And so that is like one of the first things I look at if I'm looking at two people's charts. Like, oh, what is this person here to teach you? Because chances are, where their north node is, you might feel a sense of expansion when you guys are in this area of life. And where their south node is, it's the opposite. It might feel like, it's just not working, especially if there's any like other planets touching that south node. It can really, that's when you will really, really notice that. Did what I just said make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was one time, the last time that I asked OD about chemistry was, when I was messing around with that sexual 3. I'd sent him her chart, and he pointed at to this north node, south node stuff. But there was something else. There was like 3 things I think you pointed out that really painted a really good picture in terms of the chemistry dynamics that were going on. And there was another one that you pointed out that talked about like what my ideal for a long-term relationship is. There's a certain aspect of my chart that talks to that, is about that. And because I'd mentioned to him that I have this thing where I always end up with fire signs. Like I always attract fire signs, romantically. Like Aries is like so common. Like what the fuck is going on? And so he looked up this part of the chart that has to do with long-term relationships, and it's an Aries. And so that was a huge aha. And so, I don't know or do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's I mean, like there's a lot of different ways we can spin this industry around. Yeah. But this one is this one's really dope. This is Juno. It's an asteroid that a lot of people don't work with the asteroids, but it's becoming more popular because there's just so many of them. But Juno is one of the bigger ones. And Juno is the partnership asteroid. And it works for all kinds of partnerships. But like, if you're gonna be with somebody for a long time, Juno says something about it. I mean, for a case in point, me and Emeka are best friends. I'm an Aries. Emeka has Juno in Aries. There's something about like we clicked immediately, right? And so it can work romantically and also just like on some friendship. But the sign and house of your Juno speak to what you were looking for in your long-term partners, those qualities, and also the qualities you might need to honor in your long-term relationships as well for yourself, and not look to project that onto the other person because you might get frustrated. Like say, so my guy Juno in Aries, there is something Emeka needs to take independent, bold action in his relationships. But if you're looking for the other person to do that for you, like if you have a habit of looking to the person to do that, you might get frustrated. Juno is definitely one of like the big things to look at if you're looking like for long-term compatibility. There's all these, so you take all these factors in, like, Venus is like, what am I attracting? Venus is like baseline attraction, like what I'm into, so what I value, what my taste is like, what I think is cute. Mars is, I'm gonna go get that shit. Like, let's go. Mars is how we take action together. Like, yo, can we take action together? Like, I mean, I mentioned the elements for sex, but like, if your Mars is sextile, or if they're 2 signs away, there's no way of putting it up. They're 60 degrees away. That's the literal way of doing it. You might work really well together. Like I mentioned somebody with a Mars in Capricorn that I was with, conversation, hanging out, doing other projects, flowy. Sex, it was like, maybe if we'd had more time, like we could have actually figured out how we work. But like, so like Mars is like how we do our thing, both sexually and how we take action. Juno is like what you really want to be with for decades, what you really want to be with over a long course. That's Juno. And then the North Node is what can the North Node and the South Node can point to what we're contributing to the people that we're with, or what they're contributing to us. And so you can put all these different things together to make a bigger holistic picture. And that's just like, I mean, those are just a few things I mentioned. There's some other things we can do to get more nitty gritty. Maybe this is my sixth talk, and I'm thinking of the other side of it is also when you have the big compatibility, when you have like the easy flowy thing. I mean, this is just basic astrology. This is like being like a curmudgeon. When you have the easy flowy thing, the great thing about it is that it is easy flowy and fast.
Yeah.
And the other thing about it is to be mindful of, if it goes long term, is how do you is
Keep the
not
fire
letting
going.
Keeping the fire going. Exactly.
Yeah,
because it can be so flowy that maybe we don't work towards it. So that when we do encounter friction, because there was no friction in the beginning, you never learn how to get over that hump. So then it might feel like, well, fuck it, it's over, it's done. And it might not be done. It's just that you have to work, but you've never had to work before to keep it going. So the thing about like, maybe it might not be like the immediate thing, but it could be something that if there's enough there, you guys figure out, oh, okay, well, I work like this and you work like this, and then you can have still a great experience. And you can keep it going for a while because you kind of know, like, I'm gonna come in like this, I'm gonna come in like this. So it's just a different type of experience. Not that it should not happen.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, just in terms of just anytime I ask OD, he tends to focus on these three areas, and I've gotten some really good, information from him in terms of just getting it. Because I've looked at synastry or whatever the hell you call it online, and it is a complicated mess. And so just the idea of being able to simplify it to a couple areas and to get a snapshot of, okay, what are the high level chemistry dynamics between our charts, and it's been really helpful because, I mean, coming from the perspective of taking astrology more seriously over the last couple of years, if that's the case, then there's got to be something to chemistry in the charts, but being able to simplify that to a couple things that you can sort of get a pretty good idea from these three areas.
Would y'all be able to like take this from just like a total conceptual space and maybe like talk about like I don't know if this would even work in what you're describing, but like take Emika's chart or something like that and talk about the three factors and how that plays out?
Yeah. I think a great example would be great. I mean, we can do it. We can maybe let's put all y'all's together and see where you guys have friction, where you guys.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Ooh,
Yeah. Let's do that.
To Edgar's point, like
there's friction everywhere.
Yeah, when you look at astrology and compatibility, there's so many different things, and every astrologer has their own take, has their own experience. And so I like the nodes, I like Juno, Mars and Venus. I mean, the sun, moon, rising. That's also a really easy way to check it out. Like if my sun, moon, rising is any part of your sun, moon, rising, that's automatically a connection point. That's like a really easy way. It's like, so Nancy, you're a Cancer rising. Emeka's a Cancer rising. Bam, right there.
Oh,
So the way the rising sign is the way you move through the world. The way you it's your stained glass window. It's one way of putting it. Like the light of your sun and your moon are all coming through the stained glass window, which is your rising sign. The way you approach things. And so having similar rising signs, it's just going to be, you guys are both moving in a similar way. And so that suggests ease.
quick question. Because these apps fucking have their own sort of compatibility programs. And so what has been your thought in terms of CoStar and the pattern and what they're doing with these compatibility messages that they're saying? Who do you think is trash? Who do you think is good?
CoStar is what CoStar is doing is this element I'm talking about. That is what CoStar is. When CoStar gives you the frowny face or somebody, they're essentially saying, yeah, you guys don't have this sun are in different elements, so you're trash. Your moon's in different element. But the thing about it's too basic. It's too simplistic. It's not that simple, right? There's so many different ways that you can interact and to interact with somebody. And so, I mean, CoStar overall is trash. No astrologer fucks with CoStar. CoStar is fucking, it's bullshit. They're just scrolling for screenshots. But the pattern really goes in. I still have not figured out what the pattern is doing.
The pattern is fucking insane. Like, some things it's predicted to the date.
Yeah, the pattern actually
crazy.
Yeah, the pattern is looking at your north node. This thing I'm talking about, the pattern is looking at that. No other app is doing that, which is actually kind of shocking that the pattern's doing that. The pattern's looking at shit like Chiron or Chiron is what people call it. Pattern's looking at not in relationship synergy, but the pattern is looking at a lot of different stuff. So the pattern's looking at a couple different levels. It's pretty impressive what the pattern's doing. And they actually got a dating thing now. They're making you have to pay for it. But yeah, I find the pattern pretty intriguing. I actually had to delete it because I spent too much time trying to figure out what they're looking at, because the thing about the patterns, they don't tell you why they're doing it. They're just saying like, oh yeah, you and this person have a powerful connection. I'm like, why? And I'm looking at everything in the chart, and so yeah.
They don't want to
But
give
the pattern's
away
great.
their secret.
Some of they have these like cycles of time, like that are dealing with like, you know, transitional phases or whatever that are happening in your life. And like some of them have been completely fucking accurate to the day. Like for me at least. It's been
I had a
great.
transit called painful healing, and it was on the day that I started going to therapy. The very day. And but it was like they were looking at my Chiron was going over my son. Chiron, the wounded healer, was going over my son. So like they called it, but this was before I was into astrology, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And I got sort of like, oh, that's what they were using. So yeah, they're pretty good at looking at like transits that will be really impactful, all that kind of shit.
Me and Emeka are both Mars Virgo, so we're great.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? It's hard for me to imagine Mars Virgo.
Yeah, so there's something okay, like let's thinking of there's a way you take action that wants to take in that wants to put all these different pieces together and make them part of the larger whole.
I see that.
That has, and especially with David, because David has all these outer planets next to his Mars. So it's really transcendent the way this motherfucker is doing it. Like it's like it's almost like you can see a bird's eye view, and then you see like, yeah, and that's where the forest goes, and that's where the city is, and this is the path that's going to go through. That's like the high end. And then the low end could be like, well, fuck, nothing's matching my grand vision, and they can get really frustrating.
I have this thing of, I mean, as you all know, of obsession of trying to solve the puzzle of attraction. And any fucking spiritual system I go to, that's the first thing I fucking say. Can you do this? Can you help me figure out why people are fucking? Why that's somebody wants me? And so there's an element of always like planning and putting things into place in the relationship attraction zone.
Now that y'all say that, I see it completely, but I couldn't imagine it before.
And then Emeka also has Venus in Virgo too, and so that is so his Mars and Venus are conjunct, which is really powerful, really intense. Whenever you see people with this is my take on when you have a Venus Mars conjunction. It looks like Nancy, you also have a Venus Mars conjunction. And so you can tell me if this matches your experience or not, Nancy. People with Mars Venus conjunctions, so your attraction and your I'm gonna go get it are in the same place. So it can be very intense. When these people want something, it's almost like a laser beam, like a tractor beam. It's like, and so other people can either really be into that or also be like, yo, what the fuck? Why is this so intense? I'm gonna walk away. And so with Venus, when you have Venus and Mars conjunct, there's something almost about like, maybe if you're like really overt, it might push people away. But almost like if you're just like kind of doing your thing because you have this like there's this like energy that you're putting out, people might just come to you kind of naturally. And then the house that those Venus and Mars are in can tell you what area of life you will be kind of attracting people to you.
Yeah.
So what is Nancy's in?
Okay, so Nancy, you have Venus and Mars in Sagittarius, and it's in the 5th house. And so there's something about your expression, and there's some bleed in because Jupiter's in the 6th. So it might be this might bleed into your work life, everyday routines as well. So 5th house is sex, 5th house is pleasure, 5th house is the sun, is the associated with Leo and the sun. And so, playfulness, just telling a joke, singing a song, gambling, one night stands, like quick hookups. Not like we've been fucking for 2 weekends, like not like long term kind of thing. That's all 5th house stuff. Mm-hmm. And so maybe if you're doing anything that's engaging in your natural sense of play, and it could be like literal play or like, maybe I don't know. Maybe work is playful for you, or maybe maybe inner work is playful for you. You got Scorpio at the beginning of that cusp there, and your Scorpio sun in the 5th. That might be how you naturally meet. Or because these are in Sag, as you pursue truth, as you pursue like higher learning, anything that's like really interesting you, anything that's like foreign to the way you grew up, anything that's just like I'm gonna go for truth no matter where it takes me. I'm gonna figure out like if it's religion, if it's law, if it's education, and that kind of shit. You might meet people in those kinds of ways, those kind of Sag kinds of ways as well.
Mhm.
How does that sound? Is that
Yeah, that sounds good. Where's mine at? Talk about where everyone else is on the
Yeah,
podcast.
like, yeah, keep going.
Let's do everybody's.
I'm gonna jump in on mine. My Sun and Venus are in 5th house, so that's why
okay?
I'm a
Oh yeah, so all right, so
short-term guy.
bringing this to synastry, which is we're trying to figure out how this stuff interacts. I mean, there's big 5th house energy in all of y'all's charts, and so that's something that no app
Big
will ever tell you.
hormones.
Yeah, we did it. We did it.
Figured it out.
No app is going to tell you that, hey, you guys both have this thing in the 5th house, and so that's when, like, the 5th house, that's an area. Every house is an area of behavior, an area of life where you're like, you have a lot of shit in any house, you probably want to do a lot of shit in that area. And so you guys all have 5th house energy. Emeka,
So does that mean we should just have giant orgies? Like,
Yes.
absolutely have giant orgies.
That's what we do when we meet up.
Every time we meet up, some explosive
true,
shit
yeah.
happens.
We always
That's
end up
true.
in someone's
That's not a
bed.
Like, no joke. Fucking some shit is blowing up after we meet up.
Completely serious, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you guys all have personal planets in the 5th house, except for John. John has Jupiter there, which is how you grow. But yeah, all
Yeah.
Oh, what grows?
Hey,
Expansion.
Hey.
I was gonna leave that alone, but I'm glad you guys picked it up.
Never leave it alone. Never leave it on.
So yeah, so that alone speaks to there is a certain level of playfulness, and even the way you guys are all approaching Enneagram, this inner work. It's all you guys are all like emphasize like, yo, if it's just not playful, if it's not fun, why the fuck are we doing it? You know, you guys always
Yeah.
shit on other podcasts who are not doing it. Like, what? These guys are boring. I don't care what the fuck they're saying.
Ain't nobody got time.
And so I think that speaks to like, this general kind of 5th house vibe.
Yeah, we got to start some like real like podcast battles with some other podcasts. Just like be just rival fucking enemies and rag on them.
We
all
don't
the
really
time.
even we don't even really have rivals, man. They're
No
so
one's
like
even in our class to rival us.
No, I
they're
know.
not
I
even
was
on our level.
I was actually listening to the instinct mating whatever that we did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen to it. I remember recording it. And it was like super casual, but then listening to it, I was like, damn, we got a good ass podcast.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, this is pretty good. I'm enjoying listening to this. I was there, and I'm still enjoying listening to it.
Like there was one day I was bored and I was like, let me just, I was bored and I was scrolling through the podcast page and I listened to the Escape Mistyping Hell. And I got sucked in. I listened to the whole thing. I was like,
Oh,
that was
no.
fun as fuck.
That was good. Yeah, I know. They're all like, it's a lot of fun. Like,
Ooh. No, here's something I just noticed about the nodes, which is it's an interesting dynamic that you guys have in pairs. So I talked about how the North Node points to how you're growing, and the South Node points to like what you're kind of leaving behind. It's not that you're kind of leaving behind. Now, when your North Node and South Node interact with somebody else's North Node or South Node, like they're like kind of 69ing each other in the chart, that's like that can be some really big karmic chemistry, because it's like what this person is like. This person's South Node is kind of feeding the North Node. This person's North Node is feeding. Anyway, so David, let me give a real example. This is getting too out of hand. So David and Emeka have this shit flipped. So yeah, the 69 thing. So like Emeka's North Node's in Gemini and South Node's in Sag, and David's North Node's in Sag, South Node's in Gemini. Both at 14, 16 degrees. They're really tight on top of each other. And you guys met really like just randomly online. That's the North Node is karmic. It's like what we bring in from past lives and where we're going. And I know you guys met, like you kind of met on an Enneagram forum or something like that, and you kind of immediately hit it off, right?
Right.
And yeah, that can speak to like when your nodes are interacting, or if anything's on your node. Like it can really be like if somebody has any personal planets on your nodes, it can really be like especially on the North Node, it can be really karmic. But when they flip like that, it can be like really easy because it can be really easy because like what this person is leaving behind, they also can teach you about where you're going and what
Reciprocal.
and vice versa. Yeah, it's reciprocal. Yeah, thank you for using English. I'm like using all the fucking words. And John and Nancy have the same fucking thing.
Hey.
So Nancy's north node is in Libra, and south node in Aries, and John's north node's in Aries, south node in Libra. So again, we have this reciprocal energy going on. How the fuck? What are the odds you guys met up and did a
Wow.
That's hilarious.
And so you have this reciprocal thing, and it's mutually
You want to get
beneficial.
reciprocal, girl?
Oh yeah, I wanted to get reciprocal since day one. Thought you'd never ask.
And so you guys can really boost each other up in there. And then if we look at the houses where this is happening, we get really specific about. We can get a little bit more specific about the areas you guys are helping each other out. And so, let's say John's Aries North Node is in Nancy's 10th house of career. So we got the home career axis with John helping Nancy, and for Nancy and John, that's the work spirituality axis. John's north node's in the 6th, and his south node's in the 12th, which is unconscious emotions, spirituality, where we transcend, that kind of thing. So these areas for y'all might be something that, and it's almost like with the node, you might not be consciously doing it, but like it could be indirect. But there's something about your overall soul journey. You guys are influencing these areas of life if you were to like hang around each other long enough.
So Nancy's helping touch my spiritual back walls.
Yes, exactly.
I'm just tickling those back walls. Just
to the higher realms.
That's really interesting. Like, I think
that's pretty crazy.
You mentioned that before, just in terms of the north and the south nodes. Like, I think long term, that's pretty significant in terms of like how someone might be influencing you.
Exactly, because you could have some node shit popping off, but if they don't stay in your life long enough, you might not really feel it, you know. But like the nodes are kind of more for significant relationships, or I mean, you know what? Let me not say that. Let me not say something, because significance and long term is not the same thing. Somebody can come in your life really quickly and fuck your shit up, and then say bye, I'm out. And that can be some north node, south node shit. I was talking about Mars earlier, so let's say Mars is on your south node. All right, let's talk about that. If Mars is on, let's say somebody's Mars is on your south node, it might be that they are, you guys might have a really quick attraction, because the way you fuck and the way this person fucks and your south node is like, you know, your south node is kind of pulling in this Mars. This Mars like wants to, and it's like you guys hit it off immediately. But it can also flame out really quickly because your south node is in this area, and it's like, okay, yeah, that was cool, but actually, you know what? I'm remembering now. I don't need this anymore because that's my south node. And the Mars person is going to be burnt. They're gonna be like, oh fuck, what the hell? There's this powerful thing. It's almost like your south node on somebody else's planet suggests that you were not here to validate that area of life for this person. So like a real life example of this is Offset and Cardi B. Cardi B has Mars in Cancer, and Offset has South Node in Cancer. Her Mars is like really tight on his South Node. And they have famously, Offset has cheated on Cardi B a lot of times, famously. And so there's something about the way Cardi B is fucking and the way Offset is like living, like she's really attracted to that South Node. And the South Node's the more powerful one because it's been there so many times. It's the karmic one. And the Mars is just like how I'm fucking in this life, or what I'm attracted to, or how I'm working in this life. And so there's something about the overall lesson on an evolutionary level is that the Mars and Cancer, the Mars and Cancer person, Cardi B, has to learn how to validate her own sexuality, her own way of moving through the world, her own way of taking action without looking to the South Node person to validate it. And so the South Node person on an unconscious level is kind of like not here for the way they're doing that area of life. In this case, it's Mars. It's fucking because it's like we might have had a codependent relationship with this in the past life, or it might not have worked out. And so if I overly support you on this, it's like I'm not paying the debt right. I'm like kind of like going to be like push you to the side, and you have to figure it out yourself. If you have awareness of this, you might be more kind about it. You wouldn't like do it in this unconscious way. You could actually be like, oh, you know what? My South Node's in here, and their Mars is on my South Node. So maybe I should like be aware of that and not be a dick about it. That's another way that the nodes and the planets can interact. Was that too abstract?
No, that was good.
I know the optics of that might be kind of weird because also like, I mean, I don't know what their actual relationship is like, and like, you know, I'm saying like, hey, yeah, this woman needs to validate her sexuality. Anyway, whatever. You know what? I'm not gonna
No,
overthink this.
don't. Yeah, you don't need to. Are there any other dynamics that you notice with our crew of people here besides fifth house and of course the north node south node pairing thing? Is there anything?
You know, I was looking for friction, so I just did a whole rant about friction. So South Node, David has South Node in Sag, and Nancy has Sag planets. So let's look at that. All right. So David's South Node's in Sag at 14 degrees, and Nancy has Mars. Oh, this is a great example. Mars at 12 degrees and Jupiter at 17 degrees. So David's South Node is not here for Nancy's Mars and Jupiter per se. And so
What does that mean?
So all right, so David has South Node on the ascendant. So it's like David, the way David's past life history is like always around. And the way he walks the world. It's like it's just always there showing up, being on the ascendant. And that is going to be interacting with your Mars and your Jupiter. So basically, the way you're taking action, if you guys were fucking, the way you're fucking, or Jupiter, your philosophy, your larger way of life, it might be that David might not always understand it. It might be like, oh, you're like, oh, I have this bigger idea. This is the way I see things. And David's South Node in Sag is like, you know what, man? I've been self-righteous in the past life. I'm talking about Sag, the negative side of Sag. I've been self-righteous in the past life. I've been like really fundamentalist in the past, and like the way that you're talking about this, I'm not really here for. And he's not like he's saying this consciously. It might just be like you throw out an idea, and he just leaves you on red.
Stomps it down.
Yeah,
because he does that to me constantly every time we have a phone conversation.
Wait, actually?
Yes.
Wow! Holy fucking shit!
It's so frustrating.
And so,
David's canceled.
Okay, all right. This is a real life example of what I was saying between two people. Okay, but not just like some celebrities. And so,
What about our sex life, me and Nancy?
Yeah, how would it be? Tell me about that.
So our sex life is kind of like, so it's like, it might be that like, you know, it might be like Nancy's like really turned on by David. Like Nancy's like, oh man, there's something about this guy. I feel like I've known him before.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. I wouldn't deny that.
But and then David might also be attracted because David's like, yeah, wait, have we met before? Is there something here? And then let's say like y'all met, y'all do the thing. Y'all have a tryst or whatever. And then it's like, you know, y'all do this like maybe 2-3 weekends, maybe 6 months, who knows? And then it's eventually it's like you get in a rut. And it's like this thing that used to be really explosive is now kind of like, all right, so what next? Anything that's the game on or whatever? And it's just like it
I can work with that. That's fine.
Same.
And the cold shoulder would most likely be coming from the South Node person, which would be David, because he's been there before. Because it's on his South Node.
That wouldn't be okay. It's got to come from me.
Done it all.
I mean, this is broadly stereotypically. I'm just isolating these 2 points. That's how it will go. Or let's say, I mean, so Nancy has Mars and Jupiter together. So what turns Nancy on is a worldview. Jupiter is a philosophy, is something. And so maybe there's let's say if it's not sex, if it's just like if David's like constantly shitting on Nancy's worldview on a subtle level, it might not even be overt, it might be really subtle. Nancy could be like really hurt by that and be like, yo, what the fuck? Why is this going on? And might not even realize it's happening, but just senses it. The practical thing for here is like, oh, well, this person's South Node is on my Jupiter, so they're not here for my worldview. They don't fucking get it. And so I don't need to look to them to validate my worldview. There are other people that can validate my worldview. There are other people that can see this part of me, or I can just get it from myself. I don't need it from this person. And so it can help you like navigate that friction point. And then for David, he'd be like, oh man, I'm always shitting on their worldview because I've been there before. Now I can be a little bit more aware of this and not be so like subconsciously mean about it.
David.
You're gonna stay mean.
You can be overtly mean. You can be aware that you're being mean.
He's always overtly mean.
How did that sound?
Yeah,
that was good.
That's pretty juicy.
Yes,
so David,
juicy.
let me see. Do you know that you always shit on my worldview? Are you aware of that?
I am not.
Oh, well,
But-
you should become
but-
aware of that.
He's not even aware of himself as an
Yeah, as
He
a
doesn't
nine,
even
it's like,
know where
oh,
he
me,
exists.
little old me.
What?
I did what?
I say words, and you hear them.
things are just happening. There's not attributed
He
to
just
him in any sort
exists
of-
in a space.
I'm aware that I want to abuse you in some way.
I'm aware that I want to take it. So.
Welcome
man,
to our
this could be a good
podcast.
podcast. That should be the
Anybody's
opener.
wondering why we're the best podcast in the world, this is why.
Oh, so moving on.
For Mecca and John, so Mecca has Juno, the long-term partnership asteroid in Aries, and John has the North Node in Aries. And so they're not like really close together. Like John's North Node's at 13 degrees Aries, and Mecca's Juno is at 27 degrees Aries. So there's a bit of a gap there, but they're in the same sign, and so there is something that suggests that there's this overall like kind of Juno and Aries. Juno and the North Node together suggests like that's pretty good chemistry for a long-term partnership, for a long-term friendship.
So Emeka and I are soulmates.
We already knew this.
Yeah.
We already knew this.
You're
That's
my
not
best friend, and
surprising.
Emeka is my soulmate.
Right.
What about
Nancy-
twin flame?
Yeah, Nancy's my twin flame.
Yes. Perfect.
We're gonna keep adding these kind of like meaningless descriptors on to different people.
Getting elemental. John has Venus in Taurus. Emeka has Venus in Virgo.
I got Venus in Sag.
Oh yeah, you got Venus in
I've
Sag.
got Venus in Taurus.
Yeah, and so Emeka David, y'all Venus, the tastes are both in Earth element. So there's an easy affinity there, but like between your tastes, like what you think is dope, what they think is dope.
We like asses.
Yeah, we're both dirtbags.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny is like your taste, like when we were all hanging out in New York, I was on mushrooms, of course, but like we were laughing about y'all's princess fixes with the 4 with 3 wing fix.
Yeah.
And there was like the reason it was so funny was realizing you guys are both like very specifically picky in that 4 with 3 kind of like everything's disgusting way, like everything's like ew,
Mhm.
and I was like I think I remember laughing, me like, you guys are such princesses, ha ha ha, but it was like because I was seeing that like you nitpicky kind of thing you guys have.
Yeah. It's
Some
weird
Virgo.
for
Yeah, just a bit.
social ass body types, just like act like they're kind of messes generally, but
Yeah,
then
but you guys have
really-
this very precise, picky side to you that you both share. That's like refinement kind of thing.
yeah.
Like good food, like quality stuff. It seems like, and
Some of that's Virgo, I think, right?
Yeah,
Refined.
yeah. Partly, yeah.
Refined Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds like that to me too. Oh yeah, you said John has Venus in Sag and Nancy has Venus in Sag, and so that's like
Wow.
that's another like this flowy little connection in terms of like same thing, taste, what we like. I know John's very into esoteric philosophies, loves that shit, and and Nancy also. Enneagram is also kind of in that bag, but
Mhm.
Venus, your Venus is in the same sign. That like points to some flowiness.
we're also kind of both hams.
Yeah.
You know what I
Me
mean?
and you?
Yeah.
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 Me and David don't really fuck with getting attention. Well, not like, hey, come check out this thing that I'm doing. I don't really like doing that shit. But John and Nancy are definitely much
Yeah, we're
better.
all
Like-
about it.
Like turn on Tony.
Oh,
Turn
yeah,
on
and then-
Tony, and it'll just
Yeah.
ruin everything.
First on the
Oh.
dance floor, shaking our asses on each other.
Oh, that's very fire sign Mars Venus too, because like John, your
Hmm.
your Mars is in Aries, Nancy's Mars is in Sag, but having fire sign Mars Venus definitely like it can be a show. It's the spark. It's
It's
the
a
fire.
show.
It's the flame.
I
You're
have
shitting
to
around.
say, dancing with John, best dancing ever.
It's good.
And I've
That's
danced
good.
with a lot of boys and girls.
Dance
Energetic.
with this boy. It's another thing.
It's a whole nother world.
Hey,
He's different
well,
from all the other boys.
Yeah, I'm not like
Mhm.
other boys.
Yeah, no. You are.
I personally think dancing is a great way of gauging chemistry, and
Oh, yeah.
I think coming back to my Mars idea, I mean, it's not like I didn't come up with this. I'm sure other people have said this shit before. It's not like this is a unique copyright idea, but having Mars in the same element can speak to good sex, good physical chemistry. You guys dance well. That's immediate indicator. You guys both have fire sign Mars, and so that's one way of seeing this in action.
Big hormone.
Mhm.
Big hormone energy.
Big hormone astrology. So what else? You talked about the Chiron nodes and
no,
Mars.
not Chiron. Juno, the
Okay,
partnership
Juno.
asteroid.
Okay.
The nodes, the north and south node, and then Mars and Venus.
Okay.
Mars and Venus, and then we could spin this wheel around all day. So I mean, we can get it. We haven't even gotten to the houses. You know, this is we haven't gotten to the houses, because that's like a whole nother bag.
This is like a good snapshot for anyone who's like looking at their charts and their partner's charts to kind of have an idea of, okay, what are we working with, right?
Yeah, and you don't need the birth time for what we're talking about right now. We've talked about a lot, and I mean, I mentioned y'all's having this fifth house connection, but I mean, we did a lot without just looking at the elements and the placements and the nodes and where they were falling, and that gave us so much information. And so you can just know somebody's birthday and their year and get a lot out of that without the birth time when you're looking at synastry, how we relate. Do we have chemistry? Where is our friction points?
Cool.
Wait, no, John, you're a Cap moon. And you have Juno and Capricorn.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
You sent me a chart, a whole extended chart thing with like all the asteroids.
See, that explains why the second I met John, I was like, oh my God.
Y'all
Twin
both
flames.
have Juno and Capricorn, so that's really big. Yeah,
That's interesting.
big. Yeah. Damn, how did I miss that? Okay, cool.
What about Juno in Aquarius? That's what I've got. What does that mean?
So Juno Aquarius, I mean, so that's Aquarian vibes in the Juno. That's you're just looking for people who are being themselves unapologetically. It could be that you want to. It could be that you're it could be like really simple, like you're looking for Aquarius folks. You know, you're looking for Aquarians, like Aquarius rising, but it also could mean that you're looking for people who live an Aquarius life. And what is an Aquarius life? Is people who are unapologetically themselves, who let the freak flags fly. David Bowie, Grace Jones type energy. People who are like, yo, I'm doing this regardless of what anybody fucking says. That's it could be like you're looking for that kind of archetype. You're kind of attracted to that. And also that in your relationships, you also have to do that for yourself. Like you're not looking to like, I guess project that onto your partner. And it's like, yeah, you do whatever you want while I'm over here and I conform. Like, I'm attracted to this, and I also need to do this for myself. Another way I could see that being is that you have very unique relationships. Your long-term partnerships are not, they're not run of the mill. You might have an arrangement that other people are like, yo, what the fuck? That's what y'all do? Really? And it's like, hey, works for us, man. That's our thing.
Had some arrangements.
Got some arrangements.
Sounds
Arrangements had.
Check.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm an Aquarius, so that means that I'm
There you go.
a twin shame.
Twin shame with me and John.
And your sun's at 7 degrees, and David's Juno's at 12 degrees Aquarius, and so they are really close together. So that's going to be an easy slam dunk kind of partnership
y'all
right
should
there.
fuck.
Yeah, we have.
They already did.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I'm sorry.
I
missed
watched.
it. Damn it! Come on, guys. At least FaceTime me.
We will next time.
Okay, good. I expected to be on FaceTime.
All right.
Anything else?
I feel like
All right.
She's like, okay.
I've done my dog and pony show. Like,
This was fun.
Yeah, this is
good.
really fun. I always love having Obi on here, so thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
this needs to be a regular thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's cool to like actually see this in practice.
All right.
I gotta go, but it was great hanging virtually with you again, OG.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. It's great talking. Great talking to you, John. Great talking to all y'all.
Figured
All
I'd
right,
lean in.
I'm gonna
All
go.
right, guys.
Okay,
Later, good
bye,
night.
guys.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Later.
Are you ready now? Do you really want the night to end? Only when I've been counting the hours here waiting for you. Are you ready now?